una grande onore per me partecipare alla conferenza importante di sviluppare scuola in Italia e l'Europa. È molto importante. Molto importante. Prepared. I'm not used to sit. I've been sitting for a while, so I have prepared an extensive kind of thing, because I'm here 20 minutes and I speak for 20 minutes, not more. But this is an extensive presentation, so you can use it. There's a lot of references and so on. I go through the most important things. Firstly, my name is SKOGLUND, and I'm a research leader at the National Agency in Sweden for Special Needs Education and Schools. But what's that? I'm also a political scientist. We had psychologists earlier. Can you have views of a political scientist? I think so. I hope. You see, this national agency, we serve 290 municipalities and all private schools. We support in order to make inclusion possible. This is very close to what we're talking about today. And we meet approximately 4,000 or 5,000 errands that people say, help us. So we gather information, build knowledge on that, based on that. So I'm going to surf on that knowledge and the knowledge created in the European Agency project of provision. But firstly, I will turn to the panel here. I think it was Daniela talking about brain. It's very important. She's talking about brain in context, actually. And that's something different than brain. The brain in context. What do I mean by that? Well, in 1990, in Austria, it was almost the same situation like now. In 1990, one was supposed to include the working class children in Austria into the school system. And that new knowledge about the brain by Charlotte Bühler and Elsa Köhler said that young people do have their own minds. Young people do have motivational forces, and we need to learn that. Otherwise, we will fail with our school. We can't need these brains coming here. And that's quite interesting. And Elsa Köhler came to Sweden in 1936. What did she do? Well, she did a great project with 3,600 students and teachers in an experimental project like yours. Very interesting. And she invited the activity pedagogue. And then the war came. And the school in Sweden was not influenced by that theory and methodology, but the kindergarten, the preschool. And when one talks about inclusion, one should lean and turn to the kindergarten or the preschool and learn about that. Because in Sweden, the kindergarten and preschool are able to include all children. What makes that possible? What qualities do they have in preschool? So we can lean on that example. And to turn from that brain context, I would serve to this question. Actually, I would like to ask, what is the main challenge of inclusion in Italy? That's a good question, because, well, it's we in this leadership group. Well, how do you know about the teachers? How do you know about the parents and so on? We don't know. Well, investigate that. Look upon. They did that by focus groups, and then they experienced that it was 17 different perspectives of what is inclusion, what ought it to be, and what challenges it was down to it. And that's important, because one has to be very rigorous, both about what the meaning of inclusion when one speaks about it, and also about how is the position just now, what kind of capacity do we have to do what we think we want to do. And I'll come to that shortly. It is a fundamental tension underneath everything. C number 2. Firstly, we have a lot of pupil diversity. Diversity in brain, diversity in ethnicity, culture, class, and so on. And our steering documents in Sweden and all countries, they force the schools and the principals, we should manage all children in the schools. We should include all. That's since 2011 a very sharp formulation. The third factor is tradition, and that's actually the focus, the focus we need to put our brains to. That is our traditions in schools, how we organize schools, how we lead them, and so on. And in Sweden, we don't have any great experience. How do we work with traditions? But we need to work with traditions because it's about learning among professionals. So the professional brain we need to focus on, actually. Underneath, I have a little sentence, mind the gap. In Sweden, 1950, only 8% went to the gymnasium, with 0, I think it's called in Italy, the gymnasium level. Only 8% of the population are young people. Nowadays, 100% goes to the gymnasium. There's a gap of 92%. And then the question is, have the gymnasium, the professionals adapted those 92%? And what we can say in Sweden, definitely, we haven't adopted that business. So that's a challenge. Scene number 3. We underestimate, I wrote an article on this, we have underestimated both practitioners and researchers. It's a very large and complex production we're talking about, and reproduction process before schools. Every day in Sweden, 1.6 million students go to school, 160,000 professionals. It's huger than huge. And 15% of those, they have some kind of action plan for special needs, approximately. My question then is, what needs are formulated as a ground for special needs? Well, it's not just disability. If we look upon sex, for example, gender, then we can see why is it third as much boys who have action plans, for example. Why is it such a difference between what kind of socioeconomic situation you come from? So we have a lot of variables underneath that we need to sort out. And look upon, is it about functional disability? No, and I like your statement. It's not just about functional disability. It's about socioeconomic and so on. I think that's the right way. So the fundamental question is our management structures, procedures, and competences in balance with those challenges we are standing for? In Sweden, not. Here you see that example of I would use this image. This is a window, a beautiful bougainvillea in Palma, in the window. When you talk about inclusion, those people say, well, of course, I want all students well. We want to include everybody. And I would call that the dream science. Everybody wants that. Nobody says, no, I don't want to do a good job for those groups. But that's not enough. Because we are working cathedrals. This is the cathedral in Palma, built in sandstone, which is withering apart. Nobody can repair it anymore. You don't have that competence anymore. But we should have the competence to repair the school system. What should we do? Should we start at the top? Should we start in the bottom, in the basement? Should we change the priest? I'm joking. Should we change the management? What's the key factors? We need theory, very sharp theory, in order to refurbish in Sweden. Then the fundamental questions, the Svidagrande, I call it, is those questions about how do we break traditions that do not meet needs? Secondly, how to meet them fear, uncertainty, and insecurity when changes come? And I used to ask the question, everybody said, everybody should be able to change today very fast, one says. Raise your hands, who of you want to change your routines now, immediately, until tomorrow? Very few, one, I see one. I'm not. Because what is routines? Routines is a way to build up certainty and security. And when you take them away very fast, then become uncertain and could feel insecure. So we need to be good, and especially principals need to be good to handle that kind of insecurity. Don't do like many principals in Sweden, they say, but you should not be insecure. Work. We need to get into the insecurity. Then we need to learn how to support principals so they have the ability and power and energy to lead schools and lead people in a good way. Exactly as the next phase, how do we make teacher having the capacity to do adaptive teaching towards all different kinds of brains, so to speak. And especially in Sweden, we all have a very complex question, and that's about the neuropsychiatric field of disability, autism, for example. We don't deal with that in a good way. So we need help. You're welcome. As a conclusion, it seems that we need more capability. It's not capacity. Capacity is latent. Capability is manifest in action. That is, we need better context awareness to define what are the challenges, what is really the problem. Is it about disability, or is it about the difference between boys and girls, and the school is not able to meet the boys? It's just a provocative question. If you understand, I see that. Thank you. Secondly, we see a lack of correspondence between vision, law, and implementation. It's a gap. And that's not fruitful in the long run. Thirdly, it's lack of conceptual clarity. People talk about inclusion and do not define the meaning. And therefore, it's very hard to lead development. Fourth, we need a picture, I call it continuum of support. We need to help teachers in the classroom and say, this kind of support system do we have when this situation occurs. And we have to be very clear about we should not use the sharpest knife from the beginning. We do that in Sweden sometimes. But something is wrong, then you send the kid away to the special group aside for a long time. That's the sharpest knife. In between that and everyday education, you have a lot of opportunities. We have not really explored those. Of course, fifth, collaboration. It's about collaboration at many levels. Nowadays, the term collegial learning is very popular in Sweden. But I have the confidence that, I'm pretty sure that collegial collaboration is to work together in everyday practice, not sitting in a planning room as teachers do. They plan together, but they do not do the experiences together. When they start doing, as in SKOGLUND, doing experiences together, then they have the ability to learn in a deeper sense. They have done experiences and can talk about it, uplift it, make concept what's happening. Otherwise, it's a little bit hypocritical. They sit down planning in the air, so to speak. And finally, by these five, then we could reach what I call a consciousness of qualities to offer, qualities we see, just to make it see everything. That means that we can offer parents and children true qualities. These are the qualities of a school. If you don't have them, is it a school? Figuratively, we need to be clear about the qualities. I'm going to tell tomorrow about SKOGLUND Flensburg, but shortly if somebody needs. So I'll take some points. Two cases, one in Sweden, SKOGLUND, a municipality in Sweden, and Flensburg, one city in North Germany. Both shows the first point. By accepting that they did have bad outcomes, bad results, students got bad, they had violence, they had bad attitudes and so on. They accepted that. And they accepted that was caused by segregation. By moving out more and more people to different houses, the results sank. And they also realized that the school tradition is one of the causing factors. That they recognize and said, well, it's about us. We can have good influence, we can have bad influence. We can create guilt, or we can create self-efficacy. That's the difference. That's the tension. Secondly, when they closed down the segregated settings and organized creative collaboration between different competencies, a regular teacher in a subject and a teacher from the special group, that combination made it possible. It's not just about putting two people together. Somebody have tried to make the same assessment and put two teachers together. It's not about that. It's about competence. It's about the needed competence in that needing situation. That's important. And finally, inclusion with good enough quality, I'll show you soon, can make everybody benefit from inclusive processes. So my definition of inclusion comes soon here, and I will show you first this. This is the hardest part. I've been working with that for 27 years, without saying that other people are down and so on. But our brains function like that. The more we know in something, the more secure routines we have, the more secure strategies we have, the harder we do have to learn. Because every choice in mind closes some doors. You understand what I mean? So how do we open doors? And leave the imagined certainty of our current professional organization and recognize the uncertainties and accept them and learn how to deal with them. We learn how to deal with children, pupil uncertainties, but we also need to learn the professional uncertainties. And underneath all that lies structures and thinking values, and not at least the third learning point, that is emotional control placement. I've interviewed approximately 1,500 teachers, and the problem is when you lose your control placement, when you start saying, I can't do anything to the situation, I'm a victim, then it's a scary situation. We need to be observant. Teachers should not be victims. Teachers should have support to be teachers. I do like this. Sorry, comments. So my example is, one should not say benefits all is a slogan, but if you borrow Italian, I say bene fits all. Bene is good quality, support all students. And then you don't really need the term inclusion, but we need good qualities. And that's important. In reality, this is the underlying explanation of why we in Sweden have such a hard time to deal with children with different needs. We have a very high degree of trust. In the right corner of the model, there we have all those specialists. They have a lot of experience by a lot of cases, so to speak, statistical cases. So research is in the right corner. In the left corner is a 24-hour perspective. That means that it's only the pupil, the person, who have 24 hours and do that experience. Then we have the home, and then we have the school. And the school have that quality of 6 to 8 hours a day. That's a fantastic quality that is underestimated. You meet children in problematic situations 6 to 8 hours. Why can't we diagnose the situation? In that case, ICF is very interesting. How could we better understand children in difficult situations? 6 to 8 hours. Compared to sending that child to a specialist 2 times 30 minutes for a diagnosis. We need to sharpen the ability to see and understand in the everyday practice. Now, the terminology, finally. Am I too slow? Okay. Yeah. First of all, we need a lingua one, a language. And then I'm going to take the ICF. But the lingua one is what are fundamental qualities and dimensions of inclusion? And I have spoken briefly with Mona about this. We have 5 dimensions that are necessary to elaborate. They are from the findings in the European Agency project, and we can say that inclusion is about equivalent treatment, and that means that the ability in the school to see and understand the conditions and the needs of every child. That's the ability. How do we increase that ability? The second is accessibility. That is, how can we adopt the teaching as far as possible to meet those needs we have defined. Thirdly, we cannot stop there. We need to stimulate, to participate, and making young kids active, not passive, to take part in their own life, to be responsible citizens. Those 3 could be enough. It used to be a definition of inclusion. But we can see from our studies that we also need constructive leadership and organizing. And I use the term constructive in the way that it is upbuilding. A leadership that builds up things, I show you soon. But leaders cannot do that by themselves. They need a support system that is proactive, not reactive, that take care of the problem not after they are occurring, but rather before. And here I have some fundamental indicators I have tried to define it in terms of capability. So it's about the school's capability to see and understand, the first one. The second one is the capability to adapt teaching localities and social community. Third one is the capability to stimulate pupils to take part. And then you have those 3 elements of participation. You cannot give away participation, but you can stimulate the person to firstly learn to be led. You're welcome to the school. You have to learn. It's not a free space. You have to learn to cooperate. But if we keep them in that stage, we have people easy led. They need to go to the second phase and we stimulate them to learn to lead themselves in the learning and in life. And thirdly, learning to lead others or cooperate with others. This is a kind of taxonomy of participation. And then you can read on the leadership and the support system. Finally, this model, I try to elaborate and say we can use it to compare, describe, compare, and understand schools' work with inclusion. And inclusion is a process where who's responsible for and in schools. For is heads of schools, in schools is principals and teachers. They're trying to increase their capability to, from the beginning, offer all students. You have the capability to offer it all. Some schools, most schools have. Do we have the capability to meet in social psychological senses? Can we handle it? And then, do we have the capability to read, see, or hear the child? And most important, do we have the ability to understand what it's all about? And that's the fundament for more adaptive teaching. And therefore, my definition of inclusion is, I will not talk about inclusion unless we say that we have the ability to at least see and understand the children. One cannot talk about inclusion as placement of people into a structure and context that is not prepared. Inclusion is a process to develop a context that can take care of people. If we fail, I would say, we don't have the capacity just now with me as a teacher. It's impossible to succeed with everything just now. Then we have special support, but the problem is that special support comes at the right, as a reactive means. So we build up routines and standard procedures to take care of system dysfunction, maybe. Not just personal dysfunction of the pupil. That is that we haven't put enough leadership and enough support in increasing the capacity to meet, see, and understand. And if I connect that to ICF, We have tried this in Sweden in habilitation, early intervention. I worked with that, so I was ahead of that for 7 years. All Swedish habilitation use ICF every day, the documentation system, the journals, everything. So it's within that. It has been a problem in school, so I'm happy to be here, because one hasn't translated the model to the pedagogic context. My trying to do that is this model. I'm using the terms, but I put them in another frame. We can take the example of one child we have problem. As you see here in the middle is consequences. Consequences in terms of in certain activity, in terms of participation, or results or outcome. The regular explanation of a problem is that you take the body perspective. The body perspective is brain and body, and you search for by diagnosis, you search for lack of functions, for example, deficit in perceptions and so on, and then you explain by the arrow into the consequences. But people with this deficit have this problem, and that false logic, that's the false empirical deduction. When we look upon it, every person with low perception do not have the same kind of problem. They are behind that person. So we need to know the person, see and hear the person. We need to know the person. So for a good diagnosis and investigation, we need to have body function knowledge, but we need to know the person, and we need to know the environment behind at the left. That's the family, that's the social close environment. And all those different perspectives can explain some consequences. But what we lacked in the ICF original from the beginning, that was a model that didn't have actors. It was not pinpointed actors. And one actor that is important here is the first one, pedagogical mode I wrote. That is the variable that is important. We have to investigate how have we done work as far as up to today with this child. What kind of routines do we have? How is the instruction and so on? Because that can explain at least half of the problem. It's not a matter of guilt. It's a matter of investigating what's the problem. Why do we have those consequences? A boy that doesn't go to school, for example. But it's not about guilt. We have to go behind the pedagogical move. Behind the pedagogical move is also a person, the pedagogue. Exactly as the child. So we have to treat the professional side the same way. And behind that person, we have the school culture. That teacher maybe is very alone in the situation. Don't get support from leadership, don't get support from special professional groups. So when we use this in the educational environment, my counselors, we have 250 counselors, they're out every day meeting problems. Let's say 10% of them use this when they work in schools. And we try to increase that number. Because this is also, ICF helps us to regulate what we otherwise have, that is individual minds of explanation problems. If we don't have anything that connect us, so we try to look upon problems in almost the same way as least, then we have a very hard time to document and compare and lift up the single case, 10 cases and say, what's the pattern? Then everybody has their own model. So I'm very impressed what you talked earlier, even if I don't understand everything in Italian, I'm very impressed. So I'm going to read and learn Italian. So with this, what I call relationistic worldview, where you have at least 5 or 6 perspectives, then you have a catalog of solutions, 5 or 6. If one has one perspective, then one has just one solution on a problem. So many perspectives, but have them together and collaborate. That's my, not recipe, but my experience. I thank you for your attention.